I'm sure Daniel Farke's got the ump tonight as well, because Chelsea have beaten Leeds United to get to the final against Manchester City. We're going to review that Manchester City one a little bit later on, and all the Premier League action as well. Let's start here, though, with Chelsea 1, Leeds United 0. I've got to be honest with you and say it wasn't a brilliant Chelsea performance, but they did show more character. It was a better performance than Tuesday, but that was going to be very difficult to replicate anyway, because they were so abysmal down at the Amex Stadium. I thought that they were tactically a little bit different. They went a lot longer because they didn't want to put pressure on Robert Sanchez. Anyone who watched Chelsea over the last few weeks knows that if you had pressed him, they would have been a problem. So they almost negated that from Leeds. Yeah. Leeds decided not to do it anyway, which was a little bit strange. But I thought they were a little bit more risk averse.
Yes, I would agree with that. And his distribution was much better. Actually, very early on, he launched it long upfield within the first couple of minutes to set an attack away. He found Joao Pedro, and that sort of set the tone for what was quite an accomplished performance from the Chelsea goalkeeper. 2 big saves across the course of the afternoon as well. But they showed more character than Tuesday. It would have been impossible to show less. And I just had that feeling, despite the fact I tipped up Leeds, I sort of knew Chelsea would turn up today. And Leeds didn't really, particularly in that first half. It was another Wembley no-show from the men from Yorkshire.
Do you know they haven't scored a goal since Eric Cantona scored in 1992 in the Charity Shield at Wembley? That's a long time. Lots of visits, or 3 or 4 now visits, that they've been here since then. They haven't won a semi-final since 1973 of the FA Cup. Billy Bremner was on the score sheet the last time that Leeds won a semi-final. Wembley and heartbreak go hand in hand with Leeds United. And I wondered actually whether or not that was sort of the reason why they didn't get into top gear today, because having watched them against Manchester United the other night, I was really impressed with the way that they pressed from the front. They were aggressive, they were intense all over the park. There was none of that, especially in the first half today.
No, speaking of Daniel Farke in the tunnel afterwards, he put that down to nervousness, maybe because the players knew about their poor record here at the National Stadium. I thought the opening 45 minutes in particular was quite reminiscent of that Championship playoff final against Southampton. Having said that, they have carved 3 big chances over the course of the afternoon. At 0-0, Sanchez has made a good save right in front of me to deny Aronson. I think he probably should have scored. He made an even better save to deny Stack soon after coming on at half-time. And then Calvert-Lewin with a header towards the end of the game, either side of Sanchez, and he's got a problem. So they did have the opportunities, and I think probably they'll leave here with a lot of regret, certainly looking at the Leeds players walking past me in the tunnel. Some were sort of bashing on the door to the dressing room. All of them were saying it was a cheap goal to concede, having given away possession and then not really picked up their men. So I think they'll have a lot of what-if moments from this game.
OK, and that's, I think, worth pointing out. Let's hear from Daniel Farke, because you spoke to him straight after the game, and actually it was a really good interview, so well worth sticking with, because he talks not only about those big chances and the character, but he also talks right at the very end about something that wound him up, and he says a lot without saying anything.
Yes, of course, disappointed with the outcome. Congratulations to Chelsea for making their way through to the final. It was a tight game today. I think just check the statistic. We had more expected goals, more shots on target, more big chances missed today. So it could go in any way. I think it's fair to say that we are perhaps today in the first half a bit too nervous. Not that our free-flowing best in possession, and had a few unnecessary mistakes in possession. Out of this, they were able to create chances. Not that we were played out of the park. We had the first big chance of the game, their goalkeeper with a great save, but they were a bit more clinical. Second half, we brought the game more and more to them and played more or less just in their half, and had also good situations, good saves from Sanchez against Anton Stach, against Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but also like in and around the box, set pieces were not that tidy and precise in order to create more clear-cut chances, and this was the reason Chelsea always had an answer to our questions anyhow, and they were very clinical in defending, and for that, yes, and you have to accept that they go through.
That was going to be my next question, actually. Do you regret how passive your team were in the first half, and was that a result of the fact that maybe your players are aware it's been a long time since Leeds have won here at Wembley?
Yes, perhaps I'm a bit nervous. If you take part in sport, you also can be there highly motivated and lots of effort, lots of commitment. But sometimes you have to accept that it's not your very best day, and just in the execution. This is what happens. Perhaps a bit nervous, perhaps the nerves, whatever. So I think we had a few unnecessary mistakes in possession. It was not played out of the park, and you have to respect that. On the other side, it's still Chelsea, a side who won the Club World Cup packed with top class players, and we are a promoted side, that we just easily play them out of the park. This is also what you can't expect, but of course I was hoping for being a bit better in possession was not to be, and for that no complaints about the performance to my lads. So it's also understandable. It's not like we play in front of 90,000 each every year and play all 3 days on Champions League level. It was a special occasion. Lots was made out of this, and perhaps they were a bit too over-motivated or nervous in order to be on their free flow.
What about the goal that you conceded? Because just looking at your players coming in at full time, I think they were a bit frustrated that maybe Chelsea didn't have to work harder for that goal.
Yes, of course, we had the ball and a bit clumsy. We gave the ball unnecessary way. We more or less assisted to their counter-attack. Normally it never happens, and with my players, because they were so fantastic in the last row defending. Today if you give such a ball away and invite them to a counter-attack, then they have of course players like Enzo, like Joao, Pedro, like Neto can get much of it, and of course this was decisive today.
Just a last one from me. A lot of your fans on social media seem to be unhappy with some of Chelsea's dark arts, should I say, today. Bit of time wasting going on. There was an incident, I think, where even Ampadu got himself in the middle of Chelsea's huddle when Sanchez was allegedly down injured. What did you make of all that?
No comments from my side after a loss. I want to show some class, and I would have spoken about this after, if you would have won the game. So I spoke about this topic a few times during the season. You know my feelings anyway, what I think about the goalkeeper going down. But after a loss, I don't speak about it and want to show some class.
Yes, he wasn't happy about the time wasting, the histrionics, the going down and making more of injuries than was necessary. We had 8 minutes of added time at the end of the game. We probably could have had more, actually. And I think that was something that was quite irksome watching the game. And I know that Chelsea obviously have frustrated their own fans. They've frustrated a lot of neutral fans with their performance on Tuesday night. Liam Rosenior obviously thrown under the bus a little bit by some of those players' performances. But the idea that they come here today and then sort of milk those situations also becomes a bit irksome, I think, if you're watching from a neutral perspective.
Yeah, agreed. They're a difficult team to like at the moment, Chelsea, and obviously in commentary, you were a long way off the incident with Moises Caicedo in that penalty area down to our left, and you were saying, well, it looks like he might be seriously injured. He was never seriously injured. He went down holding his stomach. I mean, we caught in the back of the head. Garnacho was being jeered by the Leeds fans because he went down after a strong challenge from Bogle on the far side. Feigned injury, looking for a free kick. As soon as he realised Chelsea were on the attack, he sprints into the box and ends up putting a shot wide. And the Sanchez one, Ethan Ampadu, the Leeds captain, it was clearly a tactical timeout. He was told by his teammate to go down. So what Ampadu did, actually, we might see this more, he put himself right in the centre of that tactical timeout.
Yeah, he did, and he ended up getting a little bit of a push and a shove from Romeo Lavia. But it's not just Chelsea, by the way. No. Loads of teams do this. Every team does it, especially with the goalkeeper thing. That happens far too much now. And I think there's going to have to be some way of dealing with that. I think the IFAB talked about some sort of archaic way of punishing teams, but it never really caught. So they thought it was too difficult to implement for this season. They'll look at it again in the future. But someone's going to get seriously hurt. And actually, what you said, it wasn't true. I did say that he looks like he's seriously injured.
Well, you're being sarcastic.
But he's not.
Yeah.
And we were. Yeah. And as Stuart said in the commentary, there's a lot of sarcasm there, blah, blah, blah.
Well, you had the Conor Bradley situation earlier in the season when Martinelli got a lot of grief from Liverpool fans and neutral fans. If you remember, he rolled him off the pitch and he turned out he had picked up a serious knee injury. But actually, Arne Slot diffused that quite quickly afterwards when I spoke to him live on TalkSport, because he said, you know what? Players do go down feigning injury, so actually I've got a bit of sympathy for Martinelli.
Absolutely, and that's what happens. I mean, you don't know from 1 minute to the next if someone actually is seriously injured or not, because they're feigning around, rolling around like they've been shot from the top of the stand, when actually it's a little kick here and there, and it happens so many times today. It was so frustrating, and the spectacle then gets dimmed as a result of that. So for FA Cup semi-final, you want to see two teams going at it. I don't think neither team were at their best. Chelsea certainly have still got a few more gears to go up, and they've got to go up a lot of gears if they want to beat Manchester City in the final of this competition. And Leeds definitely weren't at their best today. But it doesn't help when you're constantly stopping the game every couple of minutes for the odd infringement. it's a contact sport. In the first half, the referee was blowing his whistle for every possible infraction. In the second half, he let it go a little bit more.
Yeah.
Stuart was asking me the question. He said to me, do you think that they go in at half-time and think to themselves, I've given a bit too much there? And I think they probably do.
Yeah. I mean, he refereed almost 2 different games. But if you compare the 2 semi-finals we've seen this weekend, the first one was played in a much better, fairer spirit, I think.
Yeah, okay. Because we're all about fair spirit, aren't we, me and you? Best save you've ever seen at Wembley? One from Anton Stack?
It's up there. I actually think it looks better because he's gone one-handed. He probably could have looked a bit more routine if he'd gone with 2 hands. But he was decent today, Sanchez. And actually, his shot stopping has never really been the question.
That's what we said
it's been his
afterwards,
distribution, his rushes of blood that he has. But as you know, I was behind his goal in the first half. He kissed both posts before the game. I don't know if there's a new ritual, sort of good luck charm, but it worked. And he just looked focused, Robert Sanchez. He doesn't always look focused.
Do you know what's really interesting? Because you mentioned that on air about him going over and kissing both the posts. I wonder if he did it in the second half. I didn't see him do it in the second half.
No, I was too far away.
But, you know, they've got this motivational guru now. Used to play for Wigan Warriors. He's a big Super League player. He's a very well thought of Super League player. Stuart Pearce sort of reveres him. But when he finished playing at Wigan Warriors, Willie Isa, I think it is, who was a wonderful Super League player, ends up being a motivation and cultural unity guru. He goes into businesses and different places and teams and comes up with ways of making sure they've got the right team spirit, right? So it was his, the huddle, that was down to him. I think I mentioned it on Thursday's pod.
Yeah.
I wonder if the kissing the post is down to Big Willie.
It might be. We need to do a bit more investigating into that, I think.
You think we need we need someone like Big Willie to come in and make sure that we're all motivated, we've got the right culture at TalkSport? Yeah. What do you think he would do at TalkSport? What's the first thing he would do to get us all in line?
Book me a hotel closer to Wembley.
Probably. Thing is, we're quite good at team unity, aren't we? Because we just like going into the pub together and sharing those experiences. I thought the save was really good from Robert Sanchez, really good. I think it was necessary and it sort of definitely helped the team. But I think it's another example that actually Leeds probably should have won the game because, as Daniel Farke said in the interview you just heard, better expected goals, more big chances, more shots on target. The clinical nature of the finishing was not there today. Yeah,
it was a tough afternoon for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, actually. And again, obviously there's been a lot of scrutiny on Chelsea this week. They've gone for a rookie in Callum McFarlane to steer them through until the end of the season. But he got the big calls right today. He changed it up at the heart of defence. They looked a lot more solid with Chalobah and Tosin in there. I think he'd spoken to the players pre-match. He told me he had about the fact that Leeds would have come here scenting blood, seizing an opportunity to cash in on the chaos, and they were determined to make sure that didn't happen. And he got the winning goal, Enzo Fernandez. And it was a captain's performance from him in stark contrast to what you had to endure on Tuesday.
Do you know what? The wingers were better as well today, weren't they? Because I thought
Garnacho still lacked end product.
Oh, yeah, but they all lacked end product. But they were better.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 10 times better. In fact, I saw Pat Nevin, brilliant winger in his day, back at the end of the 80s down at Chelsea. In fact, most of the 80s down at Chelsea and then latterly with Everton. He said to me, I can't believe what I've seen in that first half. I can't believe it. Garnacho's got to the byline.
Yeah, he did.
It's like, oh, but that is the problem with Chelsea. Neto was better with his end product today as well. Obviously, comes up with the assist. But I do think both of them are lacking with the final ball into the box on a regular basis. Actually, there was one fantastic cross from Garnacho that went right through the 6-yard area.
That was the one where he was down injured about 10 seconds before. So, it was a miracle recovery there. Joao Pedro led the line well as well, I thought.
No, he was the best player on the pitch. There's no doubt. He was man of the match for me. The way he links the play, which I think sometimes goes unseen, but when you've watched the Liam Delap performance against Manchester United and against Brighton, the contrast is stark, isn't it? There's a level of quality and gamecraft and nous. He knows when to get involved physically. He knows when to drop deep and link the play and build better. He's a massive asset. And 19 goals this season, not to be sniffed at.
He did really well to recover from that injury as well to get himself fit for this semi-final.
You suggest
under a new manager.
That it might not be a real injury, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just saying the change of manager might have helped it heal.
I don't know whether this is true or not, so don't take it as read. But I'll tell you this to feed your conspiracy theory. So I did the Manchester United game. And before the game, we're like, no, Joao Pedro, what the hell's going on there? So we buzz down. Deco goes off, and he's the producer that comes with us to all the games. He goes down and sort of does a bit of foraging, says, it's all right, I've just seen the TV interview that the managers do before the game. And he said, it's a thigh injury. Liam said it's a thigh injury. So everyone reports a thigh injury. I'm in the tunnel after the game, and I said, how long do you reckon Joao Pedro will be out? And he went, well, he was close to being able to play today, but he just felt something in his calf. And I said to Deco, hold on a second. Didn't he not tell everybody earlier it was a thigh injury? And he went, yeah. And I went, well, he's just told me it was a calf that he felt. So that sort of raised my sort of suspicions.
Maybe he failed his GCSE biology.
Or maybe Joao Pedro had both. It might have been both. Might have felt a calf, might have felt a thigh, might just not have been right. I would never say for one moment that a player would not pull out all the stops to be available for their football club.
But you just knew he'd be fit, didn't you? You just knew he'd be fit. And Cole Palmer as well, obviously fit enough to play part of the second half.
I still think he doesn't look 100%. No. I don't know about that. And I do worry about his role with the England team, don't you?
Yeah, it's a talking point this weekend because, Phil Foden didn't turn up at Wembley. Cole Palmer didn't get many minutes at Wembley in front of Thomas Tuchel, sat very close to the Chelsea hierarchy, his former bosses in the director's box. So
they used to get on really well.
I do think Cole Palmer has got it all to do to make sure he's on that plane.
We'll see what happens. OK, so it's Chelsea against Manchester City in the FA Cup final. It's Saturday the 16th of May. It's live on Talksport.